Good morning. It is Monday, June the 28th. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. The insurance industry is under the microscope here on the Morning Report after some questionable action taken by at least one provider. This is a story of a customer who recently applied for life insurance and was told to provide a medical certificate as a prerequisite for cover. The doctor gave that individual a clean bill of health. She then got what she considered a reasonable rate for life insurance and paid the premium. However, after a review by the underwriter, the insurance provider came back to the customer and said she would have to pay more because of her height to weight ratio. The provider went even further, instructing the customer to lose weight to keep paying that current premium. So I put the situation to Randy Graham, who's the president of the General Insurance Association of Barbados, after the customer told me they felt like this was discrimination. Here's what was Mr. Graham's response.
Side of that one factor, there's nothing else that suggests that I will have a shorter lifespan. Therefore, they are free to make a request for consideration of either reduced premiums or to be granted the same benefits as anybody else that would fit in my good bill of health outside of the height to weight ratio. And I think it's reasonable for any insurance company to contemplate that request and look at the other factors to determine whether the client can be given the standard rate and not have an increased rate based on that one single factor. So my best recommendation would be for the person to one, accept that the standard is there, but also that they go to insurance companies, various insurance companies offer the cover, and ask for considerations on the fact that the doctor has said they are in a good bill of health. It is just that they're carrying the extra weight in accordance with the standard, but nothing stops the person from making a request to the insurance company. And I don't think it's unreasonable for the insurance company to consider the good bill of health over and above the height to weight situation in charging the premium.
Mr. Graham, also CEO of Massey United Insurance for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, admits that the current standards adopted by insurers may not apply or be best suited for Barbados and the region.
The standards that we use for many things in the Caribbean are not Caribbean-based standards, right? So this you and I may very well fit in the standards being overweight, right? It doesn't mean that we would consider ourselves overweight, but it means that we're using a European standard or American standard of body mass index that suggests that for our height, our weight should be X. I mean, we really would want the Caribbean and Barbados to move to the point where we're generating our own standards, because we have our own statistical data that suggests that persons in our culture should fall within the body mass index and weight index that suits our culture. And I would suggest that it really begs to move us to the point where we have to get our own standards so that we can fall within our own.
So does the customer in this case have a case for discrimination, or is it just bad customer service or poor communication? We want to hear from you. Just email me at sseeley@cbc.bb and give us your take on the situation. We've got more news coming your way, your COVID updates right here on The Morning Report. Only one new COVID-19 case, a female, was recorded on Saturday, June the 26th, out of 519 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. 34 people are now in isolation. There are now 4,075 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Barbados since the beginning of the pandemic back in March last year, and 47 people have succumbed to the virus. As part of the national vaccination program for COVID-19, 94,615 people have received first doses. Additionally, 69,089 people have been given second doses and are now fully vaccinated. The Delta variant is fueling South Africa's third wave of the coronavirus, and it has led to a tightening of protocols from today there. Officials say it's now likely that the peak of the third wave will surpass the peak of the second wave from back in January.
All gatherings and the sale of alcohol will be banned for 2 weeks from midnight. Schools will close from Wednesday and a 9 p.m. curfew will be enforced. In an address to the nation in the last hour, Cyril Ramaphosa said the rapid spread of the Delta variant is extremely serious and current containment measures haven't been working.
We are in the grip of a devastating wave that, by all indications, seems like it will be worse than those that have preceded it. The peak of this third wave looks set to be higher than the previous two waves. The first wave, if we recall, lasted 15 weeks. The second wave lasted nearly 9 weeks. We don't know how long this one will last, but indications are that it could last longer.
By all indications right now, what we're being told is that this third wave is going to be worse than what we experienced during the second wave. And this was a little bit unexpected. Government was expecting that the third wave would actually hit us not as hard as the second wave did. And this was because they weren't expecting the Delta variant to come to South Africa. But now what we've heard is that the Delta variant is the variant that is most dominant in South Africa at the moment. Now, as you played that bite from the president, he went on there to say that, private and public hospitals are buckling under the pressure. We are hearing reports of ambulances queuing outside, of people being turned away for treatment, for admission into hospital, of people being treated at home but not having enough oxygen, of hospital beds running, or hospitals running out of space, out of oxygen as well. And what we've also, he's made it very clear that the current restrictions clearly are not working, and people aren't adhering to them either. So President Ramaphosa said that government has drawn on international best practice when they've decided what further measures to take. As of tomorrow, the country will move to a lockdown level 4. All gatherings, inside and outdoors, are prohibited. Funerals are still going to be allowed, but with a maximum capacity of 50 people. And he was very, very serious in speaking about after tears parties or post-funeral gatherings, which is something that's common in South Africa, and it's driving the spread of the virus. He's also said public spaces like beaches and parks will remain open, but people really need to adhere to wearing their masks, to social distancing, and no events will take place in those kind of areas.
Tens of thousands of migrant workers fled Bangladesh's capital Dhaka yesterday on the eve of a tightened lockdown that will curtail most economic activity and confine people to their homes as coronavirus infections soar.
On Friday, almost 6,000 new cases were recorded and more than 100 fatalities, the second highest death toll since the pandemic began. Tanvir Chowdhury has more from Dhaka.
Now on Friday, the government announced that there'll be strict lockdown and it will be enforced. That's when these people got panicked, and thousands of people are leaving the capital city. The buses were restricted and the trains are shut down, so they're going by any means of transport. Some people are actually walking, because from Thursday, July 1, there will be a complete shutdown, and it will be enforced by law enforcement agency, including the military will be deployed. So people are panicked. They want to be with their family. They want to be in their home district or in the rural villages. Now, the good question is why it took so long. The virus has been spreading since May 15th. It was recorded. The influx rate was going high in the bordering district. The government still didn't impose a stricter shutdown. Bangladesh has 4,000 kilometers of border with India, and it's very porous. There's a lot of trade, people going back and forth. Now it's spreading to the capital city. Hospitals in the district with bordering India are full. The ICUs are in full capacity. It's still not a crisis point, but it could very well reach there.
Let's hear now how Pearson will take you through your Monday, the start of the week, right here on Morning Barbados. Pearson?
Thank you, Shane. This morning we'll meet a Dominican woman who has started an organization that is celebrating the power of the black woman. And certainly we want to hear from her how she got started and how it's going. Speaking of celebration, we'll also be reaching across in our conversations on Caricom to look at the whole question of the production of that COVID-19 vaccine in Cuba and its success rate thus far, and in spite of the recent continued embargo of the United States of America. But today we'll also be connecting once again with the president of the Ghana Association of Barbados Faith as we continue our look into the culture of Ghana. That and a whole lot more straight ahead on Morning Barbados. Back to you, Shane.
Thank you, Pearson. And when we come back after the break right here on the Morning Report, you'll hear what schools have been affected by COVID-19 and some groundbreaking research done at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, a groundbreaking surgery that is. Ann Hill School will be operating online classes this week after a student there contracted COVID-19 last week. A student of Princess Margaret Secondary also tested positive for the virus last week, but that school will only have online classes today before returning to the classroom tomorrow. Contact tracing at Princess Margaret is complete with all persons testing negative and the facility being cleaned and sanitized over the weekend. However, contact tracing hasn't been completed yet at Ann Hill, so online classes will be held this entire week. The Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training is also informing that the Irving Wilson School will also be closed today to facilitate general cleaning. Classes at that school will also be held online today. Officials from the Ministry of Health and Wellness will speak to the parents and teachers of both Ann Hill and Irving Wilson today via a virtual meeting, of which the principals will inform the parents of the link. A groundbreaking surgery has taken place at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. The procedure, performed earlier this month on a cancer patient, was led by a Barbadian doctor. Crystal Hoyt has the details on this story.
Dr. Greg Padmore, a Barbadian hepatobiliary and pancreatic surgeon, has successfully conducted a right hepatectomy, which is a resection of the right lobe of the liver. It's the first of its kind on island.
It was a surgery which had to be done because she had a very large tumor within the right lobe of the liver. She was 46 years old. And when these tumors get that big, there's always a risk of whether there's risk of spread, for example, risk of bleeding into the tumor. Yeah, so removal of at least 40–50% of the liver for her, and in general, is a major procedure for any individual because you're relying on the residual liver to support the patient.
The team included QH's head of surgery, Dr. Sila Griffith, 2 other doctors and anesthesiologists and nurses who made the 4-hour-long surgery earlier this month a success. Dr. Padmore, who's back in Canada to continue his fellowship at the University of Calgary, says the intention has always been to return to Barbados with his knowledge and skills.
I'm a big fan of actually helping to improve things home, right? To me, overseas, I mean, you will have much more opportunities for sure, but that, for me, I'll be like one in many in terms of when I'm finished my training. But if I can be that one at home to try to start an area which is in need, I think for me that is going to be more fulfilling.
According to Dr. Padmore, Barbados currently has no fully trained surgeons in this area, an unfortunate situation as the country has one of the highest rates of colon cancers in the world. However, he hopes to return home after his fellowship. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
The border conflict between Mexico and the United States is getting worse as the numbers of refugees increase, with few receiving permission to enter the U.S.
A migrant camp in Tijuana, Mexico. Some here are asylum seekers whose cases did not make it to court under the Trump administration's Migrant Protection Protocols, or MPP. A recent rollback of this policy by U.S. President Joe Biden has allowed some asylum seekers to enter the U.S., but only those with active MPP cases. Dilma Gonzalez, an asylum seeker from Honduras who has been waiting in Mexico for the last 2 years, says she's hopeful of the changing policy.
The last lawyer told me a judge had closed my case and that I had to open a new one. But then I spoke with a different lawyer who told me my case was not closed and that I still have a chance to enter the United States.
The Migrant Protection Protocols, also known as the Remain in Mexico program, forced an estimated 70,000 people to wait for immigration hearings in cities on the Mexican side of the border. Wilmer Avila, also from Honduras, says he's been the victim of violence and even kidnapping since arriving in Tijuana 2 years ago. But a reopening of his asylum case means he might soon have an opportunity to cross the border legally.
I have renewed hope because my lawyers said, have patience, Wilmer. They are reopening MPP cases. I had almost given up, but thank God cases are being reopened.
If Wilmer's asylum case is accepted, he could soon join the more than 11,000 people with active MPP cases who have been allowed to enter the U.S. since February. But there are many others who are still waiting for guidance on what to do next.
Human rights groups estimate there to be around 3,000 people living at this migrant camp. Now, the ongoing COVID-19 health emergency means the border remains closed, disrupting the traditional U.S. asylum process. Now, this means that for thousands of migrants and asylum seekers have no choice but to wait here on this side of the border.
With more people arriving every day, migrants' rights advocates warn that conditions at the camp are no longer sustainable.
The camp is in a terrible situation. Organized crime has infiltrated it. There's disease, there are risks, people have suffered violence there, and I believe it's a ticking time bomb.
Despite the phasing out of Trump-era policies like MPP, the Biden administration has yet to normalize the U.S. asylum process. Experts say that until the system becomes more streamlined, the crisis on this side of the border will only continue to worsen.
In sports now, the T20 series between the West Indies and South Africa is now level at 1 apiece after the visitors won yesterday's second T20 by 16 runs at the Grenada National Stadium. Sent in to bat, the Proteas were held to 166 for 7 in their 20 overs. Captain Temba Bavuma top scored with 46, while pacer Obed McCoy took 3 for 25. In reply, the Windies' innings failed to gather momentum until late, and they finished short on 154-9. Pacer Kagiso Rabada took 3 for 37, and player of the match, spinner George Linde, 2 for 19. For the Windies, Fabian Allen struck 34 from 12, including 5 sixes in that losing effort. Here's a look at the highlights.
Over the top, no one down.
Match number 3 is tomorrow, and if you want to have your say on how the Windies have been playing so far, tune in to 94.7 FM at 7 in the evening for the cricket talk show In Swing, hosted by Pedro Agar. That's In Swing from 7 p.m. on Radio 94.7 FM. Time now for a look at the weather. 28 degrees Celsius on the outside. It's partly cloudy and a bit windy, and it's feeling like 30 already, but hopefully the wind helps to cool things down. Relative humidity stands at 65%, the barometric pressure 1050 millibars, and those winds coming out of the east this morning at 34 kilometers per hour. You can expect a low tide this afternoon at 1:45. The high tide will come our way at 22 minutes after 7 tonight. Those seas are calm to moderate in open water. Swells are peaking at around 2 meters and holding steady. There's a haze outlook in effect for a layer of slight dust over the island, but it will be partly sunny with a few brief isolated light showers today. And tonight we'll have a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief isolated light showers. This is what it looks like over the Lesser Antilles. Clear to occasionally cloudy it will be there with a few brief light isolated showers as well. And internationally, not too bad in London, getting up to 18 and down to 13, all double digits today. Showers in many international cities in Montreal, Boston. You're getting thunderstorms in Toronto, some thunderstorms as well. But New York, a pretty picture, getting up to 24 degrees Celsius today. And that's it for this edition of the Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning, everyone. Morning to you too. It's Monday, the 28th of June, 2021. This is Morning Barbados, and I am Pearson Bowen. To those of you watching us on our Facebook streams at CBC Barbados and Morning Barbados, good morning. Good having you company. And on our YouTube channel, Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, grateful for your company as always. Today, we'll also be meeting Bajan Afar, a young man who's left about these shores for a little while now, and he's doing very well where he is. We'd also today be connecting with the author of a book called Ernie the Insect. And I think there's a lot for children to learn in this about oneself. And we'll be also connecting with the Parish Independence Committee of St. Philip to hear how they're marking the month of July, very, very soon. But let's get started by going across the smiles, I'll call it, because it's just a smile away, Dominica, where we meet up with Jael Joseph, who is a journalist and who also hosts her own podcast. Let's take a look before we get to talk to her.
If you hi, Allison. Hi. Okay.
Oh, don't raise my anxiety, please.
I really thought it was important for me to read the book. I wanted to be up close and personal with my readers.
So that's where probably people started sending all the negatives towards him.
She's young, as you can see. Jael Joseph, good morning to you. Welcome to Morning Barbados.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. It's so nice to be here with you, as you say, just a smile away.
All right. So how do you describe what you do?
Well, I call myself a journalist, but I'm also considered multifaceted because I MC, I host programs, I do quite a bit of writing. I have a love and a passion for sharing stories on people's lives, for connecting especially with my African heritage. And I'm a podcast host. I produce a podcast, I produce two podcasts, as well as I'm in the process of launching another podcast in Canada that I'm the executive producer of. And I do a lot of production work on a Canadian podcast called Race, Health and Happiness. So I guess I do a bunch of things.
But a lot of it is connected to race, because one of the things you do is you run a website called Black Island Girl. So you celebrate, to my mind, the beauty that one sees in the Black Caribbean woman, the Black Island Girl, from her hair down to her toes. So let's talk a little bit about why you're interested in all of that as a focus.
I want to ask you a question first. Why do you think in 2021 I can actually just own a website called Black Island Girl? Like, nobody thought of actually scooping that up before 2020. The website just launched, like literally March 20th. March 5th of this year was when the website launched, and it was as part of my capstone project, completing my undergrad with Ryerson University in Canada. And it was interesting to find out that I could actually get this website at such a stage in our lives, where as Caribbean people, as Black people, we're supposed to be, holding our cultural and heritage, our identity to such a high esteem. And it was kind of surprising for me. And going through my research, I really learned how disconnected we are as Caribbean people from our Blackness, and how connected we are to a Eurocentric approach of how we are expected to look, how we're expected to be, how we're expected to act. I mean, even in our current society, we still have laws and policies on books that discriminate against our Blackness. And that is really why Black Island Girl really resonates with me, and why I felt it was very important, not just being a woman from Dominica, but being a woman from Dominica who lived for quite some time in Canada and understood racism. Well, although it took me a very long time to actually understand it because of my own upbringing, because I was brought up by two wonderful parents, a father whose motto was spare the rod, spoil the child. We had to row our own boats, and a mom who had a very strong personality in my community as a nurse. And going up to Canada and thinking, I am this Black woman who can do anything. I can move mountains, and seeing also in my society, where I come from, a lot of Black leaders, you feel kind of invincible going into these environments and into other people's communities, and you don't realize that a lot of Black people, just like you in these communities, experience racism on a day-to-day basis. But here in the Caribbean, we still go through our own version of racism, our colorism, and how we uphold or we realize a white culture, and we believe that is what we need to aspire to be. A lot of us do, and we may say, "Oh, we don't," we're not. We love our Blackness, but then we have, even to this day, Dr. Maynard, Donna Marie Maynard was one of actually the people who I spoke to when writing my most recent article. And, her study is around how we look at our hair as Black women in the Caribbean. And to know that in 2015, even in Barbados, there was a law passed against, police women wearing their hair a certain way in their natural form. So we still have all of this going on today in the Caribbean. I mean, that was 2015. 2015 is like yesterday, right? Yes. So we still have this going on today. And I hope that with my advocacy work, especially around race, gender, that I can bring awareness and kind of awaken what is within us, and set aside our racist colonial past, and look forward to a good future. So that's my hope.
What I think is interesting is that in seeking to bring awareness, you're not just seeking to bring awareness to someone of a different ethnicity, but also among ourselves, because oftentimes our own perception of self is conditioned by someone else's perception of us. And here it is, you're living in a predominantly Caucasian society. I mean, though it's mixed with other races and so on, but it's predominantly Caucasian. How much of acceptance and understanding are you finding as a result of the launching of your website, Black Island Girl? Well,
being a Dominican in Canada, I'll tell you, is completely different from being a Dominican in Dominica. A Dominican in Canada, for me, for the longest while, I could not understand racism because I was never exposed to racism as a child growing up. I left Dominica in my teens, right? And going to Canada, I looked at a lot of what I now look at as racism as ignorance. I looked at it as, they're having a bad day, and I've had experiences, and one of the experiences that remain remains very fresh in my mind, is being a cosmetic manager, for a major store line, and being told by a white woman that I was not able to help her determine the foundation that she was going to wear because I would not know what foundation she would wear because I was a Black person. And my knowledge of foundations have nothing to do with the color of my skin. And then I looked at it as ignorance. And for a long time, this woman was, she was a regular customer, and I would always get her to go with another associate that was white because I wanted to make her feel comfortable. And today I say to myself, what the hell were you thinking, JL Joseph? Like, this woman was being racist towards you, and you pretty much, I can acknowledge it and okayed her racist beliefs where you're concerned, right? And I learned that. And as Caribbean people, we tend to go into North American spaces empowered because of our leaders, because of who we see every single day. We have our prime ministers are Black, we have ministers, we have community leaders who are Black, and we feel to ourselves, hey, we can do anything because we're Black people from the Caribbean, and we're freed, we're no longer enslaved. And we go to these countries and we go with that same mentality, only to find out that that's not the case. And we still don't know how to acknowledge that people are being racist towards us because of how we were raised. And we have a hard time even, for example, the Black Lives Matter movement, we have a hard time even going along with it or even advocating for Black Lives Matter movement, because to us, we probably have white uncles or grandfathers, because when you grow up in the Caribbean,
Yes.
you there's a lot of mixing, right?
Yes.
And to us, it's normal for us, and it's not. And a lot of us need to realize as Black people that we're not inferior to white culture and white people, that we should stop feeling that we are second-class citizens. Even in the Caribbean, we allow white constructs to dictate how we treat people. Look at the tourism industry in the Caribbean and how much of a racist system it is. It is neocolonization, no matter how you want to put it. If you want to sugarcoat it, because you probably want the cruise ships to dock at your port, but it's a racist system because they bring in white people to be managers at the hotels and all of these businesses, as if to say that our Black people are not able to hold on these jobs.
It's quite a point of view that you hold, obviously conditioned by your Caribbean-ness. But you're a mother of 2 boys, and often we hear the stories of stereotyping in the places that you live. What do you say to your boys about being Black in a society that is, again, not understanding of the color?
Well, my boys are raised between Canada and Dominica, believe it or not. So they have a bit of everything when it comes to their Blackness. I remember my oldest son, who was young at the time, he wasn't born yet, struggling with the color of his skin and wondering, why am I darker than you, Mornin? And why am I darker than so many people in my class? I remember him having a hard time. For the longest time, he had a hard time with the color of his skin, and I had to, every single time, reinforce how beautiful Black is, because Black, people hear the word Black and they think negative, because in society, Black is kind of negative. If you think of the color Black, it represents darkness. It doesn't represent anything to do with light. If you think of the color Black, there's so many negative connotations that are attached to it. And as a Black boy in North America, we see what's been happening on the news. We're very, very connected to what we see going on, especially in the US, but doesn't mean that Canada is also immune to it. that it's not happening in Canada. It happens in Canada. It's not as aggressive as the US because there are laws on the books that actually try to protect the system and protect, people being racist towards you. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, because Canada still has, for example, Toronto still has their policing act, which targets people of color, right? So, so at the end of the day, I have to constantly say to them, hey, you are Black, but you're beautiful. And I do daily affirmations with my boys. I am a king, I am a child, you have to, and you have to literally, one of my favorite, speakers, KK Ojo Thompson, she says you have to force it into their brains that they are Black and they are beautiful and
indeed.
they are powerful,
Well, so you're a very powerful person. It's been our immense pleasure. I know there's much more we could talk about, but there's much more that people can experience when they go to blackislandgirl.com to enjoy your podcast, to read the stories and know more about the Black experience through the eyes and the experience of Jael Joseph, who is a podcast host and journalist and producer of blackislandgirl.com, the Black Island Girl for sure. Jael, it's been our pleasure to meet you this morning. Much success with all of your future endeavors. And thank you for raising again the consciousness of the beauty of the Black people. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. And thank you, Barbados.
You're very welcome. All right, we're going to take a break right here. When we come back, our conversations on Caricom.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Scientists were ecstatic when the results were announced. Phase 3 clinical trials showed their vaccine, Abdallah, is among the world's most effective. And on the streets of Havana, people say they're proud of their country's achievement.
Vaccines normally take 10 years to develop, so making one in a year and a half is a record. Cuba is a medical powerhouse, and coming up with this vaccine is really special. And the fact that it's free is even better.
I'm very proud because it's one of Cuban scientists' biggest achievements. It's taken a huge effort.
Only 10 countries in the world have their own vaccine, and at this rate, Cuba will become the first country in the developing world to vaccinate its entire population with its own vaccine.
The project's leader admits the results surprised him.
I didn't expect the result to be as high as 92% efficacy. We're extraordinarily happy. Our vaccine is now the 4th most effective in the world.
The result is a rare piece of good news for an island that's seen its economy plummet during the pandemic, and a relief for the Communist Party, which says US sanctions have slowed down the vaccine's development.
They've done everything possible so not a drop of fuel gets here. They've done everything possible so that medicines don't get here. But in 13 months...
There's a lot to celebrate, certainly in Cuba, and in spite of everything else. And so we're joined this morning in our conversations on Caricom by His Excellency David Commichon, who is Barbados Ambassador to Caricom. Ambassador Commichon, good morning.
Good morning, Pearson. Pleasure to be here, as usual.
Good to have you. Cuba is doing some tremendous work, and certainly to be known as having the fourth most effective vaccine against COVID-19 is in itself much to celebrate.
Yes, well, I wanted us to see that clip to first of all celebrate the Cuban achievement, because a Cuban achievement is a Caribbean achievement. We are all invested in each other. It's our so it's such a badge of honor that our region is able, in the face of a deadly threat like COVID, that we could create our own vaccine. So, you know, kudos to Cuba. But the other part of the story is what the president of Cuba was saying towards the end of the clip, that Cuba had to create that vaccine against a very hostile sanctions campaign by the United States of America that sought to deny Cuba access to fuel, access to medical supplies. And what he's talking about there is the U.S. commercial financial embargo, economic, commercial, and financial embargo that the U.S. has inflicted on Cuba since 1960s, you know, so, a 61-year embargo. And just last week, Wednesday, at the United Nations, once again, the world community passed a resolution, a United Nations resolution condemning that embargo. 184 countries voted, calling upon the United States to remove this embargo. There were only two countries that voted against that resolution. And those two countries were, well, the United States of America and Israel, its ally.
Yes.
But virtually the whole world voted against it. And we need to talk a bit about Caricom's support for that resolution and Caricom's support for efforts to terminate this embargo.
You know, Cuba's Foreign Minister Rodriguez said, you know, that this blockade, this embargo is like a virus. The blockade asphyxiates, it kills, and it must stop. And certainly it's a strong message that was sent at the UN by Cuba's foreign minister. But certainly, as you said, Caricom needs also to join. What has been Caricom's involvement in the fight against the embargo?
Well, first of all, before just getting into Caricom, the reason Cuba's foreign minister made that point is because during the Donald Trump administration, remember, under the Obama administration, Obama had started removing the blockade. The president can't totally remove the blockade. That has to be done by Congress. But there were a number of things that the president could do to remove certain aspects of the blockade, and Obama had started doing that. However, when Trump came in, Trump immediately reversed those policies, and Trump tremendously tightened the blockade. Trump imposed 200 and something additional measures to tighten the blockade. So the past, the 4 years of the Trump administration were very, very, very difficult for Cuba. I mean, for example, they activated Chapter 3 of the so-called Helms-Burton Act, which actually encouraged, which actually gave United States citizens and companies the right to take the companies of third countries that have nothing to do with the United States, take them to the U.S. court, claiming that they, in their business dealings with Cuba, that they were somehow involved with assets that belong to the United States. So a whole set of measures were imposed. And so that's the background. So far as Caricom is concerned, at the very beginnings of Caricom, when Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana made that decision in 1972 to establish Caricom, they made a parallel decision to defy the United States and the Organization of American States and recognize Cuba and initiate diplomatic, economic, cultural relations with Cuba. So that was Caricom's first defiance of this embargo. And Caricom has been ironclad in giving this solidarity to Cuba, calling for the removal of the blockade. The first United Nations resolution on the blockade was in 1992. And ever since then, since 1992, every year there is this resolution that is brought before the United Nations General Assembly, calling for demanding that the U.S. end this blockade, pointing out to the United States that the blockade is contrary to the Charter of the United Nations, that it is a violation of international law, that it is causing tremendous pain, not just to the Cuban government and nation, but to the Cuban people. And so for 29 years, the United States has been told, look, you are in violation of international law, you're in violation of the UN Charter, because the world community calls upon you to remove this blockade, and they have defied the world community. Caricom recently, at our Council for Foreign and Community Relations, that's the council that brings together our foreign affairs ministers, back in May, we took a decision at that meeting that Caricom is going to enhance, we are going to increase our activism over the next year to secure the termination of this blockade. And one of the reasons that Caricom took that decision is because Cuba, just like Barbados, just like all of the other Caricom countries, has been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes.
The same way our tourism industry, collapsed because of COVID, the same thing has happened to Cuba. So Cuba now, like us, we are all fighting this existential battle on the economic front, on the public health front, to save our citizens. And Cuba is being forced to do this in the face of this tremendous embargo. So Caricom has resolved, and there are a number of measures that we're going to be taking over the next year, but we are going to enhance our activism to get this blockade finally removed.
All right, we're going to keep watch on it as well with you, Ambassador. Thank you so much again for joining us on our conversations on Caricom as we not just celebrate the success of Cuban doctors in the production of this vaccine, but we also monitor what's happening with the embargo, that albatross around the necks of Cubans, and how we as Caricom people can aid in its removal. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Asset Pearson, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. We have just a couple of minutes before we go to 7 o'clock. We want to give you a chance to win this morning with MCTV. I'll give you a very simple question. You just simply have to give me an answer by calling me on 228-5562 or 228-5563. Time for you to win now with MCTV. Remember, it's just a phone call away if you want to get a package from MCTV, or visit us or our customer care desk here as well. So the question today is, which 3 local radio stations can MCTV subscribers have access to? Via their boss, of course. So which 3 local radio stations can the MCTV subscriber have access to? 228-5562 or 228-5563. I know you'll say to me, that's simple. And because it's simple, call me now. 228-5562 or 63. Which 3 local radio stations can MCTV subscribers have access to? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Remember, MCTV offers affordable entertainment packages with programming for every member of your household. Just give us a call on 228-6288-MCTV and talk to our customer care desk as well. So, which 3 local radio stations? Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
94.7.
Is there anybody there?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, if you're there, could you speak up for me, please?
Okay, well, the
What is your
registrations
answer?
are 900, 94.7, and, oh gosh, 98.1.
You forgot one. Keep going quickly.
100.7.
That's right. Stay on the phone. We'll take some information from you right there. So it's 100.7 FM, QFM, 94.7, the best 24/7, and 98.1, the one. She's absolutely right. Congratulations to you, ma'am. We're going to take a break right here. When we come back, the news.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Let's take a look at the news now. For that, we turn to Shane Seeley. Shane.
Thank you so much, Pearson. And the Morning Report wants your take on a story which has put the insurance industry under the microscope for what could possibly be a problem faced by many policy holders. Now, a customer who recently applied for life insurance was told to provide a medical certificate, which is a prerequisite for cover. After receiving that clean bill of health, she got a reasonable rate for the life insurance and paid the premium. However, after a review by the underwriter, the insurance provider came back to her saying she would have to then pay more because her height to weight ratio was a bit too high for the insurance's standards, and also they instructed her to lose weight to keep paying the current premium. Is this discrimination? Randy Graham, the president of the General Insurance Association of Barbados, gave this assessment.
Discrimination is a strong word. I think they have a legitimate case to suggest that outside of that one factor, there's nothing else that suggests that I will have a shorter lifespan. Therefore, they are free to make a request for consideration of either reduced premiums or to be granted the same benefits as anybody else that would fit in my good bill of health outside of the height to weight ratio. And I think it's reasonable for any insurance company to contemplate that request and look at the other factors to determine whether the client can be given the standard rate and not have an increased rate based on that one single factor. So my best recommendation would be for the person to accept that the standard is there, but also that they go to insurance companies, various insurance companies offer the cover. And ask for considerations on the fact that the doctor has said they are in a good bill of health. It is just that they're carrying the extra weight in accordance with the standard, but nothing stops the person from making a request to the insurance company. And I don't think it's unreasonable for the insurance company to consider the good bill of health over and above the height to weight situation in charging the premium.
And to give your take on this situation, send me an email at sseely@cbc.bb. That's sseely@cbc.bb. Now, 2 local fishermen are safe and sound at home with no reported injuries. This after they were rescued by officials of the Barbados Coast Guard during a successful search and rescue mission on Saturday. According to a media release, the Barbados Coast Guard deployed the HMBS Rudyard Lewis approximately 99 nautical miles southwest of Barbados after receiving reports that the fishing vessel X-24 Sunsea 2, on which the 2 men were passengers, was experiencing mechanical difficulties. The vessel was towed to the Bridgetown Fisheries Complex. Officials say the search and rescue mission commenced on June the 25th. Looking at the COVID-19 numbers now, only 1 new COVID-19 case, a female, was recorded on Saturday, June the 26th, out of 519 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Lab. 34 people are now in isolation, and there have been 4,075 confirmed cases of COVID-19 since the beginning of the pandemic in March last year. 47 people have succumbed to the viral illness. As part of the national vaccination program for COVID-19, some 94,615 people have received first doses of the vaccine. Additionally, 69,089 people are now fully vaccinated. Ann Hill School will be operating online classes this week after a student there contracted COVID-19 last week. A student of Princess Margaret Secondary also tested positive for the virus last week, but that school will only have online classes today before returning to the classroom tomorrow. Contact tracing at the Princess Margaret School is complete, with all persons testing negative and the facility being cleaned and sanitized over the weekend. However, contact tracing hasn't been completed as yet at Ann Hill, so online classes will be held this entire week. The Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training is also informing that the Irving Wilson School will be closed today to facilitate a general cleaning. Classes at that school will also be held online today. Officials from the Ministry of Health and Wellness will speak to the parents and teachers of both the Ann Hill and Irving Wilson School today via a virtual meeting, of which the principals will inform the parents of the link. And that's it for your 7 a.m. headline news. I'm Shane Seeley. Back to you, Pearson.
Shane, thank you. It's approaching 7 minutes after 7 o'clock. We are going to take a break here. When we come back, the Crumbs question of the day.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's now 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. Time for you to win with Crumbs Bakery in today's Crumbs question of the day. You give me a call on 228-5562 or 228-5563 to answer correctly today's Crumbs question of the day. And when you call, you know me, I'm going to ask you where you're watching me from. So 228-5562 or 228-5563. Here comes today's Crumbs question of the day. And it's a very simple question, so I know it wouldn't take you long. The question is, what was Whole Town previously known as? What was Whole Town previously known as? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Let's see if you know your history. What was Whole Town previously known as? 228-5562 or 63. Win with Crumbs Bakery today. Remember, you will find that Crumbs is absolutely delicious down to the very last crumb. So if you know your history, show off with me this morning. 228-5562 or 63. What was Whole Town previously known as? Good morning to you. Hello.
Good morning, person.
Hi, good morning. Where are you watching us from?
Black Rock, St. Michael.
Hello, hello, hello. You're gone from my ear.
Black Rock, St. Michael.
228-5562-63. She's there, but turn it. There we go. Now, what parish are you watching us from?
St. Michael.
She's gone again. Turn yours back on, Andy. Right, what parish are you watching us from, ma'am?
St. Michael.
St. Michael. What's your answer?
Jamestown.
You sure?
Yes.
All right, I'm sure too. I'm sure that you're right. You're absolutely right, ma'am. You stay right there on the phone, okay? Thank you for correctly answering. She's correct when she says Jamestown is what Whole Town was previously known as. So well done, Miss St. Michael. I want to get some callers coming up from some other parishes as well. We haven't heard from like St. Joseph and St. Andrew and St. John. Call. Your turn tomorrow, of course. Thanks to Crumbs in our Crumbs question of the day. We're back after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Will it eventually connect to my ear? Will it eventually connect to my earpods? Yes. Okay.
All right, how's that going? Tested 1, 2, 3. Okay, no problem.
Morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're very fast approaching 14 minutes after 7 o'clock this Monday morning, and right now we go to Abidjan Afar, and for a number of you, this face is going to be very familiar. Jason Morris. Good morning to you, Jason. Look at Jason. Jason, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, in yourself?
I'm doing well. It has been ages, according to the old people, that I clap eyes on you. You're in the United States, are you?
Yes, I am.
How long has it been now?
It's been about 25 years now. Yeah,
My
25 years,
goodness.
going on 26.
You make me seem so old. You know, Jason and I used to work together at Barclays Bank years ago. He then eventually migrated over to Florida. It was Florida you first went to, right?
Yes, I've moved around a little bit. Yes, I moved to the Fort Lauderdale area in '96. I moved there primarily for college, did my undergrad, and then I moved to Atlanta in 2000 to do my master's degree. Ended up living in Atlanta for about 16 years, and my job, then I moved to Chicago, and I'm now in St. Louis.
You're moving all over the place. How is it like though, as this Barbadian boy from the parish of St. Lucie now residing in the United States? What's it been? How has that been like?
I would definitely say, home will always be my roots. And actually, with the pandemic kicking in and we're slowly coming out of it, I'm hoping to get back home pretty soon. But I think for me, transitioning and making the transition from home, obviously, like I said, St. Lucie and then into the United States, it's been a great transition. It's one of the learning curves was definitely driving on the opposite side of the road. But as growing up, and my mom will always tell me I always had a really good sense of direction. So I was able to find my way around a lot of the streets. And when I first moved in '96, and then plus I was familiar with the Fort Lauderdale area after having traveled there a lot because that's where my home headquarters church is. So I was familiar with the city, and that kind of opened up to allow me to navigate the traffic system pretty easily. So. Yeah, and as far as the culture, I've adapted to it.
Oh, that's great. A lot of people remember you from the Gospel Fest choir. You're in the back at the top there singing loudly. Are you still singing? Have you given up the skill?
Well, here in St. Louis, I'm not like affiliated with a church here locally, but I still follow the group obviously is the Merclats that I was there in Barbados, and we are still great, close Christian friends today, and we still chat almost every other day or so, stay in contact. I'm still obviously a member of my church, and when I do have the opportunity to go for anniversary every year, even though I'm not in the choir there locally, but I still follow the scene. I'm an avid gospel viewer, listener, so yeah, but I still have the voice, so it's still there.
So what are you doing now? I know when you left, I can't recall what it was. It wasn't aviation that you'd gone into to studying. So what are you doing now?
So as far as studies, my primary studies is in management studies. I did my master's in business administration with human resource management concentration, and I started out in the hotel industry, working in the when I first lived in Fort Lauderdale and through my first few years in Atlanta. But then, like you said, aviation. I'm in the airline industry. I started out with airline called AirTran in Atlanta, which was then acquired by Southwest Airlines, who is I'm with now, and I've been with the company next month. Will be 15 years, and my current role right now, I'm the assistant station manager here in St. Louis. And it has afforded me lots of opportunities to travel, not only within the United States, but obviously to get back home to Barbados. So working in the aviation industry and the ability in my role to lead and develop people, it's an amazing role here.
How does it feel, though, to be a Bajan from afar? You're living there among people who, and just hearing the Bajan accent from time to time, question where you're from. What do you say to them when they ask you, when they hear you?
Yeah, and whenever I get excited or I speak pretty quickly, and then the Bajan accent will come out. So then they will like, where are you from, And then as soon as I play a little game. I ask them, I'll tell them, I'm from a small island and it's close to the south of the Caribbean, very south of the Caribbean. It begins with a B. Most people kind of go first with Bahamas or Bermuda, and I tell them, no, you got to go way south. And then as soon as I mention Rihanna, then they'll get it, and they say, oh, Barbados. So yeah, yeah. So and then I'll go into some of the history, the size. They ask me how big is it? What language do we speak? And I was like, no, we speak regular English. So
that's right.
Yeah, but it's whenever I mention the island, when I mention back home, it becomes a big conversation with the food and everything. So yeah.
We have one view of this island because we live here. You have lived here, now you live there. What's your view of Barbados now?
I would say it has definitely evolved and developed, and every time I come home, just to see how many vehicles are in the island, how up to date a lot of the technology is. And then when you look at the culture and to see a lot of the influence that the outside world has had an impact on, such a small island as Barbados. But then when you look more deeply, and because I've lived here and gone through the college system, and you look at the education system too as well, when I look back and compare to where I was as either a child or growing up into secondary school compared to some of the level of education here, I must definitely say our education system in Barbados is very, very, very high performing. A lot of things that we are exposed to at such an age in Barbados you don't get here, whether it's foreign languages, some technical abilities. Yes, there's more variety over here as in terms of things that you can choose from, and there's a plethora of different levels of degrees and so on, but just the advancement of education, I would definitely say stands out for me if I had to really make a comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, definitely in technology and how development and the exposure, I would say, Barbados is really pretty much equal to a lot of the bigger countries.
Well, that's good to hear. How do you maintain your Bajan-ness while living in the United States? Because oftentimes we can lose it and adopt someone else's culture. Are you able to maintain being a Barbadian where you are?
Yeah, for me, I would definitely say what makes it close for me is my family, and staying close with my siblings, and just we chat every day, we have fun, and then I have some really close friends that I've cultivated throughout school that we just have a ball, and just feeling that every day you can still be connected to friends and family back home. And then food is very important to me, and obviously being in the United States, you don't have access to all the brown vegetables and different spices and all that stuff. So after having to live in Atlanta, and when I have an opportunity to go back there, and there's a store that I can go and get some of I can get the Anchor cheese, I can get Milo, I can get Eclipse biscuits. What else I can get? I can even get Panadols and all that stuff. So, and Bobby and the hot sauce, and so I would stack up a small suitcase, check that bag, put it back on the plane, and that will last me for a little while. And and then I have a good friend that we went to school in Barbados, Alexandra, together too as well. She actually lives in Georgia. She made some seasoning and sent some to me. So seasoning is very important. So the connections that I have where I can get those little things, that means a lot to me, and I'll inch them out and hold on to the things as much as long as I can until I can get back on that plane and get back home to Barbados.
I can hear the excitement in your voice, because clearly it means a lot to you to at least taste home in the foods that you eat. Do you get a chance to listen to the music, read the news, consume things about Barbados?
Yeah, obviously due to social media, yes, definitely. I stay abreast of because I'm not really a politically viewed person, but I do keep in constant in contact with on Facebook to see just see what also via YouTube, just see what's actually going on. But as far as the social media, it has really allowed me and afforded me, and I'm sure many others, to stay in contact with things that are happening in Barbados. Whether you read it or you watch it, you watch the CBC News, you can have those different medias just coming through. So I try my best to definitely stay connected in the social media, and I thank social media for that, because sometimes you aren't able to take those trips all the time and talk to talk to the locals to hear exactly what's going on. So and then sometimes your friends will send you different excerpts, different clips of what's happening. And when you talk to your family, they'll tell you what's going on too. So I use all those mediums to stay connected.
Well, that's fantastic. So a couple questions I always ask everyone, who talk to me from afar. If you were to land on this island right now, where's the first place you'd like to go?
Shafat.
Why, Jason? Why?
A large marby, a roti, and a burger pat, and a large fries.
I see you still have that hearty appetite. Very good. And who would be the first person you'd like to see?
Well, definitely, it has to be my mom or anyone, the first family member that actually comes to the airport. My family means a lot to me, and just when you come through those doors and you see, most of the time it's my mom or my brother or my sister, just seeing that's the first person, and then if after family. And I'm going to embarrass her a little bit, but I don't know if she's watching. But one of my really, really, really best friends from Alexander School, her name is Suzette, and I have to make a stop and just reminisce and have fun. And yeah, that would be the next person as far as outside of family.
That's really fantastic. Jason, it is good to see you yet again. We can't wait for you to come home once more. But for us, it's always interesting connecting with Bajan Zafar. You're doing really well. 25 years. Who would have thought? Did you at all think that for so long you would have been outside of Barbados residing?
No, actually not. The plan was, pretty much to, for college, finish, do my bachelor's, my master's, and, hopefully maybe see what an opportunity if it allowed me to, to stay. But I didn't see myself 25 years later, and after having experienced so much of the culture and just learning experiences. I've grown up as pretty much a man and an adult in here in the United States, but my roots will always be home in Barbados, and I'm equally a Barbadian as I am a permanent resident here of the United States. So I will always be a Bajan for life.
You heard it come out there, everybody. A Bajan for life. I love it. Jason Morris, thank you so much as always for joining us this morning. And again, good luck with everything you're doing, my friend. And I hope that we can see you here in Barbados really, really soon. All right?
Yes, hopefully soon. And thank you, Pearson. It's great to see you again. I remember our Barclays Bank days, and those were some awesome times. So it's really good to see you again.
Likewise, my brother. Thank you so much. Jason Morris,
all right, thank you.
A Bajan Afar, of course, from St. Lucie, by way of Alexandra School, now residing in the United States. Always good to connect with Bajan Afar. We're going to take a break right here. When we're back with a story. Stay with us. "29 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. If you're anything like me, when I purchase a book, there are two things I do. I read the back of the book and then I read the first paragraph of the book. And so when we read the back of this book, it said all his life, Ernie knew he was different. With lots of friends around him, life was good. There was always something to eat, always a place to sleep, and when bored, there was always a group of friends with which he could play. Ernie had it made, or so it seemed. Day after day, the same routine took place: eat, drink, sleep, play. And with the sun shining brightly and the moon shining down, what else could one ask for? Well, one day he realized that things had changed. Those are the words of the author of this book called Ernie the Insect. His name is Dennis Sobers. Good morning to you, Dennis.
Good morning, Pearson. And good morning, Barbados.
It is you.
How are you?
It is
Yes.
you. You know, I saw
Me?
the name.
Who am I?
Brother, good morning.
Good morning.
I saw the name and I thought there must be a different Dennis Sobers because I didn't know that you would write.
Yes, I've been writing from the time I was 16 years old.
Oh, that's last week.
You know.
So tell me a little bit about Ernie the Insect. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, I have my children when they were born, and I wanted to get closer to them. And so I decided to write the stories because the stories were very good in terms of letting persons know and see things differently. And I like to write poetry, and the story is a beautiful story, but it was also allowing me to be able to speak to other people as well. I'll tell you the full story is I raised my children, me and my wife, and we wanted to make sure that they were also kept into loop as to what is right and what is wrong when it comes to from moral issues. But then when it came to going to school, it was going to be very difficult to be able to be inside the school. So Ernie the Insect came about when I wrote for them, but then I realized that Mr. Watson from Roland Edwards, he was very interested in hearing me read the stories also for the children. And so they started from there, and then from there went to the public library in Speightstown, then Speightstown, Sealer Primary, and before you know it, I was on a circuit reading this one story. But the overall point of this whole story was this. It was allowing me to be able to keep my eyes on my children, to help them, to keep putting whatever I put in them to stay in there, despite the fact that they go to school. I wanted to make sure that they were well-rounded.
You said the publication is about the discovery of hidden talents, and I could agree with that. You know, when you think about it, so many times we grow up as little people and we're not even aware that we have so much within us to do and to give as well. So how does this insect right through the book play out and show us that we all have hidden talents?
Yes, that's a beautiful part. When I read the story to many children, first thing I ask them, how many of you want to be doctors? And they all raise, I want to be. How many want to be lawyers? How many you want to be nurses? But then I ask a question, how many of you want to be garbage people? Picking up the garbage. Says, nah, I don't want to do that. It's nasty. But then when I explain to them that without the persons picking up the trash, then there will be roaches and mice and rats and so on. And they come to appreciate that even though they may not see them as important, they also has a serious role to play in the lives of us as individuals. And that helped them. So the story was the same way as well. Ernie, he didn't know what he was. He had no idea, but it took time for him to develop those talents in order for him to be useful at the end of the story.
And useful indeed, because all of us play a part in the grander scheme of things. And so we need to recognize what our responsibilities are as we go as well. And it's written in the way that allows a child to be able to just see themselves through the work of Ernie the Insect. And so how many novels, how many of the Ernie the Insect's books have you written?
Well, Ernie the Insect was just the first. And then my wife and I realized Ernie the Insect, with all those other insects that are a part of that story, they all have a different quality and a different talent that is within them. So there's Ernie the Insect, there's Willie the Worm that has their own story, there is Billy Bee, there's Cammy Caterpillar. And so it's really a series where they all interact with each other even throughout the stories. So Ernie the Insect story has friends, and their friends also have their story to tell, which is also include Ernie the Insect throughout. So it's all a series of different publications or different books that were all gathered together as one.
I find it interesting how people can just string words together, sentences, and make a book. at some point it comes to an end, you know, but here it is, you're able now to take a thought and develop it right through every page to a conclusion, and it's enough to form a book. How do you do that?
Well, I tell you where it started for me. It started in 1972, and it happened when I was going to the Kingdom Hall in Fontebelle. Chauffette had just started, and I was around 3 years old, and they had this beautiful little plate outside the window, and it had a poem there. And the poem stated, friendship is a golden chain that brings two friends together. And if you were to break a link, we won't be friends forever. Now, I was 3 years old. I had no idea why I still have that in my mind. But I saw the image of the two birds at the sides, and they were holding this golden chain. And that helped me to see that one picture, that one poem, those four lines, or that few stanzas in that line, helped me to remember that up to this day. Children today have that same perspective. They're not. You can't read just to them. You need to make it live. And so Ernie the Insect was a publication that helped them to visualize and to see it. And even up to this day, when children see me, they don't know my name, but they remember, you're the man, Mr. Ernie the Insect, because they remember the story. And this is how young people today work. They're visually impaired or visually adhere to what they see and what they hear, and they remember it. And that's the reason why I did with Ernie the Insect. And I've developed this, I guess, talent, if you want to call it that, throughout the last 4 years. And it's now time to basically show persons and help parents to be able to teach and talk to their children and to read to them so that they can remember and to put the ideas that they want to put inside them through the words, written words of the paragraphs.
Children learn in so many different ways as well, pictorially. Is the book also embedded with images and that kind of stimulate that side of the brain?
Yes, it is. And the beautiful part about it, interesting part about it, I should say, is that when I read the stories, the teachers that were there, they want to know, why are you not published? Where can I get this book?
Yes.
And the reason is because I didn't have a publisher, or not only a publisher, I didn't have an illustrator. And because I didn't know how to illustrate myself, I started playing around with art. So I've developed another art form out of that altogether. But I'm still looking for the right illustrators to make this story come alive. And so the pictures are very important, but I treat my poems or my work as a part of my family. I want to make sure that wherever it goes, it is ready and it is ripe and is ready to do what it needs to be done.
Wow, there's a part of it that reads, he saw Willie Worm moving into the ground. He yelled, "What's up, Willie?" in his funny insect sound. Willie said, "Don't bother me, Ernie. I don't mean to shout. There's so much work to do, or the sun will dry me out." Ernie said, "Just one quick question, please, before I go. You live in the wet. Why? I really want to know." "It's a job that I love. I help plants grow each day. I give these plants a hope, so now please go away." Ernie looked at himself and started to cry. "I can't help plants grow, so what good am I?" Wow. Now that in itself, yeah, I love recitations, you know, but that in itself is such a poignant point when a child walks away thinking that he has been dismissed and feeling as though you have no purpose. And so the book, through Ernie the Insect, shows that every one of you, every person has purpose, from child right up to adulthood.
I love that part as well. I remember when I read that poem that story to a school that had a number of youngsters that were disabled and so on. And I was trying to help them to see, you know what, despite the fact that you may not be able to get up and run out of the wheelchair at this time, you still have a purpose. You can do a lot more when the time comes. But right now, it may be not right now, but you can still pay attention, learn from your teachers, take in as much information as possible, and when the time is right, just like Ernie the Insect, you will make your purpose. The worm knew what he had to do. The ant knew what he had to do. Ernie did not know what he had to do until the right time. And in the end of the story, it blows the mind of individuals to say, wow, you have a purpose. I have one too when I think about this going forward.
Good. So we're back to the question, where can we get copies of the book? Dennis?
Well, I'm trying my best to get it properly illustrated still. It's almost there. And I'm also looking for that one publisher who will do a children's book. In Barbados, it was very difficult. It is difficult. So here I am in the process of looking for someone up here in the States to be able to push it, because really and truly it it's growing. Not just are we looking at it from a Barbadian point of view, because I've also written Ernie the Insect in Bajan style, and it's one of these days where you hear it, it's lovely. But also other persons around the world should be able to. We want to hear this as well.
So very soon we'll get a copy of it in our hands, and very soon we can all enjoy the Ernie the Insect story and the other follows on that would come as a consequence of the story as well. We can't wait to hear more from you, Dennis. And again, my eyes are wide open because I'm surprised. I'm truly surprised. Didn't know this bit about you, but it's good to know that this is who you are as well. And best, as again, I know as the opportunities present themselves, you will do well with those opportunities.
Thank you very much. And there's a lot more to learn about me. One of these days, we'll sit down and talk. There's a lot more. But until then, I trust by God will make sure that things work out accordingly. So thank you very much for having me as well.
You're very welcome. Dennis Sobers, thank you so much. Dennis is the author of the book, Ernie the Insect. Look out for it. It's going to come to you real soon, and you'll get to enjoy it just as much as I've gotten to enjoy reading excerpts from it as well. We'll take a break right here on Morning Barbados, and we're back with more.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
17 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock as we turn our attention to the work of the St. Philip Parish Independence Committee. July is their month, and so this morning we're joined by the chairperson, Brian Paris. Good morning to you, Brian. Oh, Brian.
Good morning, Pearson. Good morning, everyone.
How are you doing this morning, Brian?
It's a pleasure.
Indeed a pleasure.
I'm actually waking up this early. Actually, is good for the soul.
Imagine me. I have to wake up much earlier than you do to get ready to be here. That's all right. So, are you looking forward to? Are you looking forward to the month of July and celebrating with the folks in St. Philip?
Yes, please, and I will tell you why. Now, Barbados, we want to paint the parish of St. Philip and by purple. That's right. That's why I'm here purple. That's why I have a Two Love Muslim t-shirt here, which we're having on sale. People deck out a nice outfit to celebrate why we St. Philip for the parish where one family lives. As we have a whole range of activities which we want to showcase. Want to showcase the cuisine and the entertainment of it. We want to promote civilization because there's one thing to have or showcase that, but if we can't get our people together, then I think that's something that. So we want to get people out in purple or showcasing purple for the month of July.
So we want folks in St. Philip not just to wear the colour because it's a favourite colour of theirs, but to know what it means and to be able to wear that with pride. But you also said you're also going to have a whole range of activities to celebrate the month of July in St. Philip. It's your month. And so give us a sense of some of the things that we can expect in July in St. Philip.
Okay, so we're starting off the month with James Wedderburn's track in St. Philip. Pearson, what's the perimeter of St. St. Philip. You throw me a figure.
My brother, wrong person. Wrong guy. I can't answer it.
Okay, so Philip is actually 60 kilometers square in perimeter. Right? We have an online challenge where we are urging Philippines to try to walk 40 kilometers within the month. And it's just to promote the healthy lifestyle. And from persons that want to get in but aren't Philippines themselves, you could take a walk and just send us the Relive, the Adidas picture of the map that shows that you've been tracking your area so that we could accumulate the mileage and determine whether or not you really track St. Philip. So that's one.
I like this. And from the image I'm seeing here, I don't want to assume, would the tracking through Bayfield, Church Village, Merricks and Marchfield cover 40 kilometers? Oh, Brian. Or we'll try to get Brian back, but keep the image up there for just a moment, because with everything going on, you know, we're tracking and trekking through St. Philip in the month of July. So as you're tracking through, St. Philip has an estimated 60 kilometers squared, as Brian was just saying to us, and so we're being challenged to walk 40 kilometers for the month of July. And those 40 kilometers, one, I suspect, can walk and track day by day by day in the month of July. Now, after each walk, St. Philip people, you're encouraged to send your walking details to pic.stphilip246@gmail.com. That's pic.stphilip246@gmail.com, or you can post your journey with the hashtag StPhilip60K for a chance to win a prize with the St. Parish Independence Committee. That sounds really, really good. It's a great way with the Jim Wedderburn Tracking St. Philip Challenge to stay healthy. And so all in St. Philip are challenged during the month of July to move about, cover those 60 kilometers squared by walking just 40 kilometers in the month of July, and sending your walking details by email to pic.stphilip246@gmail.com, or to post them online with the hashtag StPhilip60K, and you get a chance to win. Now, also, the thing I also quite like is a St. Philip, I too love my St. Philip t-shirts, and he will have t-shirts on sale. The Parish Independence Committee will have t-shirts on sale. We have Brian back. Brian, once again, come back.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. These things happen, I know. It happens to a lot of us, indeed. But I was asking, the 40 kilometers could be anywhere through St. Philip. It's not specifically designed to just be those roads that we just saw.
Yeah, correct is right. Correct is right. You can go through Baird all the way down to Bushy Park, could decide to walk the coastline of the beaches where there's an awesome display of hidden perches, Peak Bay, Culpeper. So you can walk the coast. You can even walk the road. Just be safe. Please be safe.
So true.
But yes, you can walk anywhere in St. Philip.
I actually quite like that. And of course, as you're doing, you're documenting, and you're asking them to send them to the Gmail account or to post them with the hashtag StPhilip60K. So that's tricky, and we can do this all month long in the month of July.
Yes, that's correct. And there are other activities that we have showcased. So there's Economy Purple, which starts the first day. And we just want the Philippines to showcase the color of purple. And the entrepreneurs could actually put on displays of purple to showcase that Philippine culture that we have grown to love. And as you know, Pearson, purple is the color of royalty.
Yes.
So I want us Philippines to actually showcase that all month long in July. Following the Color Me Purple, we actually have a scavenger hunt. And that's going to be really, our committee have been going through almost every single day saying, yeah, we're going to make it hard. We're going to make it hard. So that event, I promise, will be quite the entertainment for the month. Persons, if you're interested, try to reach out to us by Wednesday as we'll be closing off. And it's $25 per car, and a car we're saying will hold persons, right? Starting point will be.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Starting point will be at Bailey's School.
This is on Saturday, the 3rd of July. The Scabby Hunt is
please.
on the 3rd of July, Saturday, the 3rd of July, beginning at 8 in the morning, very, very early in the morning, 8 o'clock, just $25. So how do we register our vehicle to be a part of the scavenger hunt? Do we come to the school at Bailey's, or when do we register and where do we register?
Right. So on Wednesday, so you can message us via the Facebook or the Instagram pages, or you could call us 251-1226, and we arrange registration. We want to get all the registration done by Wednesday latest.
So 251-1226, 251-1226. Scavenger hunts are such fun. And particularly when you're working as a team, you're trying to figure out the clues and to get to the location before anyone else does and to get back to the destination. It's a lot of fun. And so you want to encourage everyone to be a part of it. The number is 251-1226, 251-1226, 251-1226. The call, you have until Wednesday to book your spot in the scavenger hunt. And it's just $25 a car. 4 people that can be in the car. And get 4 brainiacs, get the 4 smartest ones together and have some fun, because we got to work out the clues. And as Brian just said, they're making it really hard, but fun for everyone as well. And you get a chance to win some prizes, right?
Yes, please. Can't tell, but yes, there's a few prizes for those. We have participation prizes, but then yes, there's the grand prize as well. That's as I am gonna say. The committee will have my head.
He's gonna zip his lip right there. But the scavenger hunt, folks, is this coming Saturday. Don't think you have a long time. Nope, it's Saturday coming. You have until Wednesday, a couple of days from today, to get to really book your spot in the scavenger hunt. And it gets going at 8 o'clock from Bailey's Primary School on Saturday morning. So we've got that now. So we got the tracking. St. Philip, we're walking all over the place. We're having the scavenger hunt. What else is happening in July?
Okay, so the 10th of July, we actually have a soccer aerobics session. It's going to fit with Leticia and the Extreme Body Fitness Group. This will be at the Emerald City parking lot. So this is going to be pretty exciting. And what I will say, I had training with Mr. Mason. I'm sorry. And I am sore to this day. Like, the workout was excellent. Like, he knows his trade very well. So you need to be out. You need to be out for this session. It's gonna be very. It's gonna promote your healthy lifestyle, and it's gonna be fun. Following on from that period, we actually have our heritage walk. Do you know about the railway that traveled from Carrington Station to Crane?
I'm old enough to know that.
Nice. nice, Pearson. Yes. But yes, we want to provide insight to persons. I mean, it could be anybody alike, because I found the story of it interesting. To come and take the walk as we go through St. Philip on the railway to Crane. And it's going to be 3.5 miles to the Crane. We're starting from Foursquare Rum Distillery. So that's going to be pretty entertaining. And you also come out anything that allows you to learn Barbados more, I think is something worth participating in.
Absolutely agree.
So, and following from that, sorry, Pearson.
No, go ahead.
Okay. And following on from that, we have our male ambassador who will be doing Instagram live session with entrepreneurs, and we are calling this We Business, We Culture. So he's going to be featuring on the 7th and the 28th of July on Instagram, entrepreneurs and just interviewing them. So
Sounds
there
like
you have it.
Sounds like a busy, busy month indeed. It sounds really great, but I know you want to encourage everyone to early o'clock, as we say, get your t-shirt, a To Love My St. Philip t-shirts. They are on sale, and those t-shirts are available. Look, one hanging right here by him, by Brian. You know, the t-shirts for the children as well are $20. You can get your t-shirt, and the adult t-shirt is $25. And again, you can order. Alisa, what's the one that's hanging by you here, Brian? And says it's hanging is discounted. But like everything else, you can call to order 251-1226, 251-1226. We really want to get those lines going and support the cause of the folks there in St. Philip, the St. Philip Parish Independence Committee. Sounds like a really good month, well thought through plans. Who are your parish ambassadors, by the way? What are they by name?
So we have Jonathan Carrington, male ambassador, who hails from Marchfield. Leticia Hunt, she hails from Inchcape. Well, we'll say she hails from Harry Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So these are our male and female ambassadors for this year.
All right.
And yes.
All right, so we want to wish you all the best indeed as you move towards the Spirit of the Nation show coming up towards the end of November. And again, Brian, thank you for joining us and keep us on track with what's happening in St. Philip as well as we track for sure those 40 kilometers. Thanks a lot, brother.
I appreciate it and thanks a lot.
That's Brian Paris, the chairperson of the St. Philip Parish Independence Committee. Before we go, we want to remind you, though, that we are, looking for the ultimate soca star. You remember on Saturday we had a big preliminary number 1, numero uno, and a number of our artists' music was featured. So you have until midnight tomorrow night, to text in your artist to short code 1011. Got that? Short code 1011 using your Flow mobile device. Send your artist along with that and your name to our Flow phones. Send it in quick, and you get a chance. You can choose either Lead Pipe, Lyric, Statement, Peter Ram, Alison Hines, Mikey, Stiffy, Biggie Irie, King Baba, Marve, iWeb, and Marsville. So until 9 o'clock tomorrow night, get your text in. Short code is 1011 using your Flow mobile device. Only your Flow phones will work. So send that artist's name, text it in as fast as you can. You can do it as many times as you'd like to. If you want to spend every cent on it, that's great. And you have until 9 o'clock tomorrow night to get all of your texts in, and good luck to that. That's preliminary number 1. There will be the preliminary for the Kaiser Champion coming up this weekend as well, so get ready to get busy with that one as well. So great opportunities for our artists on the island. Each category they get to win $10,000, the Soca Star and the Kaiser Champion as well. So the Soca Showdown is on. Texting has started. You have until 9 o'clock tomorrow night to get all of your texts in. This is where we got to leave it today. I want to remind you to join us at 7 o'clock this evening on 94.7, the best 24/7 for the brand new cricket talk show In Swing with Pedro Agard. So, for the crew, to all of you, have a great day. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Good morning.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.